This episode of Helping a Hurting World is being grateful for what you got. It's here. It's here, deep in the heart of America. Somewhere in the nondescript parsonage, it's Helping a Hurting World with Father Michael and Father Michael's Ministries. This is Father Michael's Ministries, and this is what we believe.
I arise today through the strength of Christ's birth with his baptism, through the strength of his crucifixion with his burial, through the strength of his resurrection with his ascension, through the strength of his descent for the judgment of doom. I arise today through God's strength to pilot me, God's might to uphold me, God's wisdom to guide me, God's eye to look before me, God's ear to hear me, God's word to speak for me, God's hand to guard me, God's way to lie before me, God's shield to protect me, God's host to save me from snares of devils, from temptations of vices, from everyone who shall wish me ill, afar and near, alone and in multitude. I arise today through a mighty strength, the invocation of the Trinity, through belief in the threeness, through confession of the oneness of the Creator of creation.
And now, a word of encouragement from Father Michael.
Hello, good people. I hope this podcast that I am shooting at you right now, that all of you are doing well. And if you are not doing well, that can change. The Lord can change you, whatever your situation might be. I'd like to start off today by just getting straight into my sermon like I generally do. This is about you. This is not about me. Be thankful for what you have. Because some people simply just don't have the basic needs of life, such as, clothing and shelter. They don't have, family. So a lot of people don't have family to help them if they was to run into a situation that they might need help because they had burned their bridges with these people. That's a whole nother sermon though. But be thankful, that you have a toilet that, you could use and a shower that you can clean your body, and, you have the running water and electricity and a roof over your head that it takes care of you like that. And be grateful that you've got food, in your stomach that can be cooked by your microwave. Or if you are talented, like I am a bit, cooking on the stove. But however, that's not everyone. But then again, some people can. It's men more than I was talking about. But we others do. There's just too many cooks sometimes, so to speak. But we really should, be grateful, for just basic necessities of what we've got. If anyone even has, the abundance of really having a bit of a whopping type of a savings account, well, kudos to you. You've got it. You've got your situation to where it's like, oh, okay. There's some major, something breaks down in your house or whatever, it's going to cost you about, $2,500, at a drop of a hat. It won't be no big deal. But however, that's not always true for everyone. See, many things can happen. It could be in your house, just lying upon your bed one day, and you have your lights and your heater on, and it's the winter storm warning night, and it's at a flick of just a snap of the fingers, pow! There goes all your power, and it cannot be restored. Yes, that can happen, and it did happen to me. But praise the Lord, God took care of me and my people. God took care of us. We all had a place to go, and we had the money to sustain us at, a motel, which was not exactly one of the, what you would call the Ritzes, I suppose. But then again, it was nice, and it was quaint, and it was, clean, and, everything. It was, kind of one where you might want to carry something on you, maybe, but not necessarily though. But it was good for $50 a night. You can't beat that. Beats being out in the cold and the snow. It beats being out, like in the elements for sure. But things can happen. Things do happen. It's called life. There's nothing spiritual to this. A lot of things that happen, it's life. It's just the way it is. There's just nothing spiritual to this. Sometimes there is, to some way, things, but usually just some things just happen the way they happen. But then you don't really know what you've got until it's gone. And then when that happens, all of a sudden, it's like, whoa, now wait a minute here. I had all of this, that, and other, and all these good things, but all of a sudden, just at a twinkling of an eye, poof, it's like, it's gone. So be thankful for what you've got. Back in the days of Moses, if any of you remember how this particular part went about how he was leading what they called these stiff-necked people, and that God was, giving them manna, honeycombs. That's what that means. In the desert, out there right in the middle of nowhere, and he was, feeding people and feeding, all the multitudes, and they got tired of them, maybe, but, so what happened? Well, God, sent, a big, covey of quail right there in the middle of the camp, and they got those quails, and they ate those quails. They got to have quail. God, that's one thing too. I'm, talking about, on the aspect of, food, as in, be thankful for what you got. There are, some people, in our own country, in the United States, that are hungry. They don't have any food. And, but, it shouldn't be that way in our country. It shouldn't be that way. Well, it shouldn't be that way in any country around the world, but as a matter of fact. But, it's kind of like, our government, as I had said before, but it was before, the inauguration, that I think the government should reinstate having commodities, for lower income families. And if any of you that don't know what that is, if you're not back from my days when they had such things, that means, the government cheese. if you've ever heard anybody say that term. And, peanut butter and whatever else they have, whatever else, you get is commodities from the United States government. You get them every month. I think they should really be reinstated, for the poor folks. I mean, that would really, help our country out to where we could, get more food to more people in our country. And I don't think there should be anyone in our country at all that should have to be hungry. There's no reason for that. There's absolutely no reason. I don't see why we cannot be resourceful enough somehow as Christians to be able to have an outreach out there to try to make sure that no one is hungry. And then also, of course, along the way, making sure they're saved and they're going to heaven and everything. You also know that's one of the main things about my ministry is salvation. But however, there are people out there that, they need shelter. They need food. Okay. Then, well, now you're asking me a question. Maybe it's like, well, now how is this just going to happen? Well, it just doesn't happen. It don't work like that. The way the world works, no. But yes, do I think they need to make, more, government, project housing type things? Well, yes, I do, to help out the poor folks that do not have anywhere to live or whatever their situation might be. Yes, that they should. And of course, they have to be strict there. They really do. They have to be strict, because anybody who's ever lived in one of those type of places before knows that if they're not strict and, really, and sometimes in other ones in bigger cities, they have, security at night, trying to make sure the place is safe enough, I guess. But if that's just the way that's just the way it is. But unless, of course, I'm not talking about medications now. I mean, not, of course not. I'm not at all talking about any type of medication. Something that's medicinal that helps you. Which we do every day at the drugstores, or where in our countries, we give them our prescription from our doctor and they give us our prescriptions and there you go. Of course, we have to pay for them and everything. We just don't get them. We don't get them like they do in some socialist countries. So, Medicaid does though. Sorry. Little misnomer there. But anyhow, the peoples, I believe the peoples of the United States should not have to be hungry. I don't believe we should. I feel bad for other countries too, don't get me wrong, but we have to take care of our own people first. We need to take care of American citizens that, that are here in the United States of America. We need to take care of all of them. I truly, truly wish that, there could be what's one of the biggest food, clothing, whatever people might need and stuff to be able to be able to give it to them. They've got all these different, companies online and stuff like that they've got much stock they got too much stock and it's just sitting there in a warehouse not doing anything. Well, that clothing surely could be turned around and sent to different distribution centers in the United States, and that would definitely help out the peoples and stuff, and surely those companies could use it as a tax write-off. Sounds like it. Now, don't quote me on that. I don't know that for a fact. But if you want to try something like that, any of you that have an abundance and you want to get into like a clothing or a food ministry, hey, go for it. Yeah, get a hold of those .com companies and stuff and say, if you have a meeting with them, say, hey, you people got all these different, clothing items and shoes and whatnot. Well, how would you feel about donating them to these different distribution centers that you would want to do?